welcome back. I'm here with a fantastic panel. I'm here with Usama and Dakdok, and I'm here with JC from Quranic Endgame. Of course, he's coming from a cave hidden in a Bitcoin salt mine where, he secretly broadcasts from, to maintain his secret identity.
Listen, Lloyd, I almost got to see his cave, the one he's hiding in. As I'm going in, there was a big bear standing in the front, and look what he did to me. Scratched me in my chest. Look, that's what happened from the bear outside the cave where JC is hiding. Even though I told my wife, don't feed the bear, but she put lots of food there, and look what the bear did to me. I'm bleeding.
You're a survivor.
I'm bleeding. Yeah.
Now, you're a survivor. That's great. Few people can survive JC. He's called the man who never laughs for a reason.
Ooh. Why did he tell me? He should have told me about that before I check him out in his cave, man.
Yeah. Well, so once you fight your way past the bear, then you get to the big boss, the final boss, which is JC.
JC's a man.
The bear, his name is Bob. Next time, just say hi, say that you're a friend, and he'll let you pass. So chill.
Oh, I'm chilling, y'all. I'm chilling.
Sounds like a plan. So welcome everyone. Hello, London man. How are you doing? Zeal Viking, welcome. So hello everyone. Today we're talking about the sources of the Quran. I'm going to look through some of the original sources of these stories, the narratives, and the practices within the Quran. And we've been doing this now for a little while with Usama and JC. I've actually got 3 series running at the moment. This one, which discusses the original sources of the myths that are told in the Quran, which are legends, children's tales, and so on, that were very popular pre-Muhammad, pre-Islam. And obviously they just copied them and claimed, hey, these stories, this fictional stuff, this fan fiction is the literal word of Allah, the revelation from Allah's lips to your ears, which is, not very believable, especially when these were known to be legends and tales that people made up or didn't regard to be true to begin with. Right. And then, of course, it's like telling Humpty Dumpty as a true story in the Quran.
Humpty Dumpty?
Yeah, it's actually not a true story, Usama. Believe it or not. It's popular, but untrue. Right. And then, of course, we've got the series Monotheism that I'm doing. And then tomorrow I'll be doing, because I will be available tomorrow, it turns out. I won't be going to that event. So tomorrow I'll be available. Then I can do the other series that I'm doing, which is the Gnostic origins of Islam, going back to the 1st and 2nd century. So we really start at the cusp of the end of the 1st, beginning of the 2nd century, and we look at from Manichaeism forward. So this is the book of Al-Jazai. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. So I've got 3 series at the moment where we look at some of the pagan origins of Islam, not the quote-unquote Abrahamic ones. Usama, we were chatting before we went live, and I've introduced you to a lot of new information. You said this was stuff that Jay's somewhat familiar with and others, but a lot of it is new to you. And you said, you'd love to explore more, but tell us more about the impact this has made and how it would have affected your work for the last 20 years if you'd known.
Here's the truth. Here's the truth. I thought in the early days of my learning about Islam literally over 40 years ago. I'm 57 when I was in school in Egypt. That when I read the Quran and the information which Muhammad had in the Quran as a teenager up to college years in Alexandria, Egypt, and I studied Sharia during these years, that I learned that, or I thought that the Quran is the work of the devil, Satan. Satan is Allah and Allah is Satan. And he just put all the stuff there. But then I discovered, wait a minute, just the last few years, Satan is not that stupid. Satan knows the earth is not flat. Why Allah? If Allah is Satan and Allah put this information in the Quran, will Satan say the earth is flat? Or will Satan put all this information, wrong information, very, very wrong information? So I struggled for years about where did Muhammad come up with this Quran? Where did he come up with the stories of the Quran? And for years, as I shared with you before, including many Christians, ministers like me from the Middle East, when we used to hear the word, the legends of the Jews, as Allah stated in the Quran, they say, surely it is the legend of the Jews. In our mind, see the legend of satire is people making fun of the Bible. People make fun of the Bible and say, oh, that's why Muhammad copied the story from the Bible and put in the Quran. He changed a little bit. But guess what? I was wrong. There is legend of the Jews. So the source of the Quran is not Allah, Satan. It's not the Bible, but the legend of the Jews. Now, when I come to meet with you and you start teaching all of this information about the God whom the Muslim worship, the moon, or the story, that story here came from that legend. That story came here from legend. Now it makes sense. That's why I said yesterday, I wish I met you 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Can you imagine how powerful the ministry of the Straight Wave Grace Ministry would have been if we just have the knowledge about where the sources of Islam was? I mean, where did Muhammad come up with these stories? So now I'm thankful. I'm really, truly thankful that to work with you and to learn from you. And hey, I bought legends, but I did not know how to pin it down. Now you're helping me to pin it down. So in my next print of all my books, it's going to be some editing, some changes. So instead of I say the legends of the Jews or the legends from the Apocrypha, I'm going to literally put in my translation, in my book, I will put the name of the book and the chapter and the page. And you cannot argue with that. How can you argue with that?
Right. No, that's great. So for the audience, I hope this information so far, what I've been putting out the last few weeks, is helpful to you. Hopefully it's teaching you something new. Hopefully it makes sense, logical sense, because it's historically founded, right? It's based on source material. It's very clear that these are retellings or sometimes copy-paste of existing stories, right? And I'd like you, if you can, to obviously share this, speak about this, go to other channels, have them speak about these things so that they can stop focusing just on the Quran and Hadiths and start to say, hold on, we need to expose the fact that Islam is based on recycled tales from the past, myths and legends, and paganism that we can prove.
So, Brother Lloyd, I'm assuming that you give permission for people to use your videos.
Of course.
And share it with us. You're not the copyrighted guy.
No. And guys, also, just something that, has the UK become too dog friendly? Have we become too dog friendly? Now, this, the BBC put out, have we become too dog friendly? This is like from a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday. And the Critical Drink Era has a very solid opinion on this, which I agree with. But understand that in the UK now, lately, the news story is that, of course, dogs are everywhere, and it's upsetting to certain communities. There are people that are afraid of dogs, that don't want dogs, that are uncomfortable around dogs, and we need to start removing these dog-friendly spaces in stores and restaurants and the fields and the forests and the rivers and the lakes and the mountains and the valleys. And we all know which community they are talking about. Even in Cape Town, there was a tweet I saw today about a Muslim woman who identifies as Muslim, the first thing on her profile. And she was saying, she goes to the beach and there's dogs and it's horrifying. So, see, this is their new talking point. They're coming for your dogs now. Now they're coming for your dogs. Now, the correct response to that is to tell them to go in A, B, C, D, E, next letter themselves, right? But understand, these people are not going to stop. And Islam is false. We need to start telling people, look, man, there's more to this. It's not Abrahamic. It is pagan. It is based on moon worship. It is a mishmash of everything that is not true. So, So, guys, this is why one of the reasons we do this. They are going to come for your dogs. They're going to take your dogs away. What is next? What is next?
This is exactly what I was going to ask you. They start with the dog and you say, okay, no more dog. You give a Muslim an inch, they go for a mile, they will tell you, we don't want you here. So will you leave too?
Yeah, no. So guys, this stuff will not stop. Okay, so I want to show you something. This is an actual Islamic book, okay, put out by legitimate sheikhs. And it gives us a basis for understanding where I'm coming from in terms of inauthentic or false narrations that Muslims tell. This one, what is commonly spread but not proven from the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad by Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdullah al-Ushan, famous but unauthentic stories, okay? So you can find this in my Google archive. Check the description for the link to the Google archive. So, for instance, reports in his youth, his marriage to Khadijah and period before prophethood. So the things that I'm talking about here of Muslims borrowing myths and making them quote unquote true is something that has a long history in Islam, right? We can look at this one. The story of the Jewish lady who threw garbage at the prophet is a false narration. And the prophet who carried the luggage of a Jewish lady who wished to escape from Makkah after hearing of a man called Muhammad is an emotional but false narration.
Wait a minute. These are very important stories. And you tell me they're not true?
Muslims are telling us it's not true.
What's wrong with the Muslims? It shows that Muhammad is a very loving, very forgiving, very nice guy.
Wow, thank you, but they really do appreciate the donation. Really, it makes a difference. Yeah, little by little, Muslims will erase us if we don't stop it. This is death by 1,000 cuts. They're going to take your dogs. They're going to take everything you like. They're going to take your pubs. They're going to take your foods. It's all going to disappear slowly but surely. So we fight back with the truth.
On that point here, Brother Lloyd, I had some very good friends of mine in New Zealand. Do you know that in New Zealand today, there is no any pork products produced, period. You cannot get a piece of sausage, a piece of ham, a bacon, not whatsoever. And I just found out that the people of New Zealand, in all their businesses, when you buy anything, 5% of the profit of these products are actually given to the Muslims. Now they're taking jizya out of the people of New Zealand, 5% of the profits.
Yeah, and 12.5% of that money goes to jihad.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I just do? Sorry, my bad. That was my mistake. I clicked the wrong
button. What do you do? You got rid of my picture? You don't like me anymore?
I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button. It was my accident.
Okay, I saw.
Yeah, no, and 12.5% of that money they collect will go to jihad because of all the money that the Muslims collect, an eighth must go to jihad against the kafir, and that's you. So guys, we need to talk about these things. Islam is vulnerable. Historically, it's very vulnerable. And we need to bring different arguments. They are going to feel it from all sides. They're going to be attacked from all sides in terms of they can't defend against all these things. There's too much. So, for instance, the report of the marriage of the Prophet to Khadijah bint Khuwaylid while her age was 40 is, now you know how much Muslims hate da'if hadiths, right? We know they hate da'if hadiths. And notice it's from the weakest of narrations. In fact, it's more than even da'if, okay? It is matruk. It is said by Imam Ibn Kathir that she was 35.
Matruk means left alone. Matruk, left alone, don't even get to it.
Rejected.
Rejected.
The way that they interpret it, it is rejected. It is just rejected completely. This is, throw it aside, right? So Khadijah, get ready for the precise age of Khadijah from Imam Ibn Kathir. She was 35, or she was 28, or she was 25,
or she was 8. Why not just put a small number, man?
Yeah, just put another or there, but she wasn't 40. So
whoa. Let me stop here for a second. If you do not know the precise age, don't you dare tell me that 40 is wrong. Okay? If you really know for sure she's not 40, how dare you to tell me 35 or 28 or 20?
How do you have 6 kids when you're 40 years old living in the desert in the 7th century?
But also, if we see that the traditions that for 1400 years, that had never been a problem. It is a problem now, all of a sudden. But also, that actually sounds almost as though he was saying the age of Aisha was acceptable. We don't know what it is, but it was acceptable, no worries. But we look at history, and even if it was a weak narration, that had been accepted. That's why it has happened in Islamic lands. So no, they don't get to rewrite history now after 1400 years.
And what is wrong?
Now they're embarrassed.
And Brother JC, what is wrong for a man who is working for his rich widow and he fall in love with her, she fall in love with him, and they got married? What's wrong with that?
Olet, do you want to join us? Should we add Olet? Olet, I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to send it to you by email. Hold on. I think I have yes, I do have your email. Olet, I'm going to send you the link. I have now sent you the link, so you're welcome to join us if you want. Yeah, so JC, you've got something up there on the screen?
Oh yeah, yes, wanted to show this because you mentioned jihad, and as we know, now everybody's trying to say that this is an internal struggle. This is from one of the seerahs of Muhammad before the one that we've all read. So I'm going through it, and in here it says actually very clearly that so Ibn Saud gave Shaykh his pledge to propagate the teachings of Islam, Tawheed, oneness of Allah, and mobilize Muslims for jihad, which is fighting for the cause of Allah. This had, oh, by the way, and emphasize adherence to the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger. This is what Islam has always been about. You cannot say, well, we don't now follow this Sunnah or that Sunnah. If Islam takes over, you are going to follow the Sunnah whether you like it or not. Another thing, this translation is about 400 pages. This is the book. The original in Arabic is over 800 pages long. This is supposed to be an abbreviated version, which, obviously I cannot do the Arabic one, but I suppose they have left a lot out of the translation because it's embarrassing. So I don't know, Usama, if you want to read the Arabic at one point when you are bored or something, maybe you will find some interesting stuff.
You never know. If you don't mind, send me that book if you don't mind.
Rightio. So let me continue then. So the Muslims do not question the fact that she was 40 years old, except we have it very clearly from Islamic scholars telling us, no, there's no way she was 40. That is from a rejected hadith. So Muslims should be thanking us here for showing them not even da'if, it's even a worse grade. It's a lower grade than da'if. Okay, it's matruk. And she was 35, maybe 28, maybe 25. So what else is wrong? If her age has just changed by 15 years, what else could be wrong? And then her giving birth to 6 children strengthens the view that she was definitely younger than 40, according to Muslim scholars.
Wait a minute. You cannot be a 40 and have 6 children. You cannot be 60 and have 4.
In the 7th century?
I mean, I need to understand that. When you have 6 children and you grow old to be 80, that does not mean that you got these children. If you grow older, your children are no longer yours.
African education. It's hard for me. I'm trying to think my way through this, Usama. Yeah.
So okay. Maybe the 6 children were all young. We're all like a year old. Okay, I got you. No problem.
Yeah.
And then by the way, I'm just going to point out that I think according to their traditions, so Muhammad is not really getting anything done. Then he receives the revelations. And then in the very same year, Waraka, who is giving him the revelations, and Khadijah actually die. They die on the same year, which I find it a little bit sus. And then after that, he starts, marrying other women and doing all of these weird things right after he has removed his wife and
his wife, conveniently,
mentor,
rich wife, earned all the money. So the report that the prophet tried to throw himself off the mountain cliff, okay, after the first revelation is not authentic, apparently. Okay, great. Imam Hajar al-Asqalani, this is the guy who wrote the Fath al-Bari, which is the tafsir of the hadiths, of the Sahih hadiths of Bukhari, explained in Fath al-Bari, these words about the prophet were added mistakenly by a narrator. Oh, what other mistakes were made?
By accident.
How many mistakes? Sorry, go, someone.
Yeah, he tried to commit suicide many times by accident. Whoever put this, he did not meant it. It's just written there by accident.
Yeah. And let me see, look for luggage here. Let me find the luggage story. So, like for instance, as an example, the prophet carried the luggage of a Jewish lady who wished to escape from Makkah, right? It's an emotional but false narration, right? So this is the story. So I am the person because of whom you left the town. The old lady was amazed to listen to that and said, such a kind and helping and true person can never be wrong. And therefore, the Jewish lady also accepted Islam. Oh, praise be to Allah.
Listen. Do you have is the story about Muhammad cleaning the poop of his neighbors, where he used to put the poop in front of his door? Is this a true hadith or that's a matruk hadith?
Yeah. So Sharon, what is your point here? Does Sharon have a point you want to make? Sharon obviously has something intelligent she wants to add. Anyway, so
no. You didn't answer my question, Lloyd. You didn't answer my
Sorry?
question. It's
The
more
poop
important stories than carrying the baggage. I'm talking about Muhammad.
I don't know if it's in here. To be honest, I haven't checked. But notice the story, it says, I looked up the story and did not find any origin for it. Okay? And it says, this causes us to believe that the story is fabricated and baseless.
Wait a minute. Because the story did not have an origin, did that mean it's rejected? What is the original source of the Quran?
Well, this does lead one to question a lot of Islam. If Muslim scholars are saying that many of the stories that Muslims use are completely false, then I mean we need to start questioning. You know, we need to think twice.
I mean, I wish I can have a Quran from the days of Muhammad. So I can say
unfortunately, there is no such thing. But yeah, so guys, understand this is why we have to start questioning Islam. So let me go to here. Right, so we finished here last time. JC, any comments before I move on?
Sorry, no, I'm good.
Okay, so now we ended here last time. The supposition that many of these religious customs were borrowed by Muhammad from the Sabians and that their religion in general, owing perhaps in a measure to its supposed antiquity, had great influence on Islam at its foundation, is confirmed by the fact that when the Banu Jadima of Taif and Mecca announced to Khalid their conversion to Mohammedanism, they did so by crying out, "We have become Sabians." Right? And that's what the talk tomorrow is about the Sabians and the book of Al-Chasai. So the Sabians are supposed to have been a semi-Christian sect. Others have identified them with the Mandeans, whose religion is a strange medley of Gnosticism and ancient Babylonian heathenism. So this is what we've been talking about the last few weeks. These are the topics, right? And they borrowed elements from Zoroastrianism, Judaism, and Christianity, although it is largely anti-Christian as a system. Thank you very much, Zeal Viking. Thanks for your hard work and research. Your channel is the best deep investigational journalism abroad across the board of history, archaeology, and geography. God bless your ministry. Wow, thank you very much, Zeal Viking. Really, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you. So, welcome, Catherine. Yeah, so that's where we ended last time. Okay, so they got their name from Manda, the most important of the emanations or eons in whom they believed. Now, in their sacred book, the Sidra Rabbah, okay, he's said to have manifested himself in a series of incarnations, the first three of which were Abel, Seth, and Enoch. Okay, which, now keep that because tomorrow I'll be discussing that. Thank you, Zeal Viking. Yeah. See, let me bring this one up. Actually, so tomorrow, this is something I plan to be discussing again. But the Quranic verses mentioning Jesus' birth, certain miracles, his crucifixion, other events, bear close resemblance to sectarian texts dating as early as the 2nd century. And the Quran's narratives are not unique to the 7th century. The model for Islam in the Quran long pre-existed in pseudo-biblical texts and groups, many who still existed in the 7th century. Okay, so let's continue. Now, the Quran mentions numerous biblical figures, and this is the book that we're using, The Sources of the Quran by William Tisdall. You can find this online. Many of its stories are not found in the inspired Jewish and Christian scriptures. Where do they come from? Right? Now, this is Reverend S.M. Zwemer. This is from about 100 years ago. This is Arabia, the cradle of Islam, studies in the geography, people, and politics of the peninsula. Okay? So this guy did some very, very interesting work, and I just want to show you why this is interesting. He speaks of analysis of Islam as a system develops from its creed. Now remember, this is more than 100 years old, right? Allah has 99 names, okay? That's great, the names of Allah. But notice, Muhammad has 201 names. Allah has 99 names, but Muhammad has 201. Muhammad has more names and titles than Allah. He seems to be twice as important. So, very interesting, right?
Yeah, and then that makes sense. In Islam, you can insult Allah and you'll be all right. But if you insult
Yes.
Muhammad, you are not all right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So notice, though, it says here Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, the only channel of revelation, and abrogates all former revelations. This is well known. That's the doctrine of revelation. Okay. Now, so you have the book and you have the man. J. Smith always says the book and the man. Before J. Smith was even born, people were saying, well, there's the book and the man. Okay. The Quran is revelation. It is verbal. It teaches the twofold demands of Islam and tradition. The revelation by example of the perfect prophet. And then there's also other authority. The records of what Muhammad did, the sunnah, right? His example. Records of what he commanded, right? Records of what Muhammad allowed. Notice it says Sunnat al-Qawl. Qal, okay? Remember we spoke yesterday of the pagan deity called Qal, Ka'el, the pagan moon god, Ka'el. Sunnat al-Qal, the Sunnat of God. But we know that Ka'el is the pagan name for the pagan Babylonian deity, Ka'el. So these are the sunnah of Qal, not the sunnah of Yahweh. Usama, isn't it odd that you have the Sunnat al-Qal? And that's the name of one of the names of the moon god.
Yeah.
Was it Sahih?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Was it Sahih? Sahih Sunnah?
Yeah, I think so. But the Sunnah, and then the Sunnat al-Takhrir, the license, okay? And you have the Ijma, and you have the Qiyas, okay? And none of these flourished until, now notice it says here, none of these things flourished until 3 centuries after Muhammad. So you didn't have these things until 300 years after Muhammad. And notice, it says here, Muslims believe in 104 books that were sent from heaven, books sent from heaven, dropped by an angel. Boom, here's your book. To Adam, 10 books. To Seth, 50 books. To Enoch, 30 books. So notice, we just mentioned Seth and Enoch, and these are important in Islam. Very important in Islam, right? And then, of course,
and we know, and with brother, it's not like the Bible is ignorant of it. You talk about Seth and Enoch. I'm sorry, I could not see the name Seth or the name Enoch in the Quran, but it's important in Islam, yes. But I know in the Bible Adam, I know his son Seth, I know Enoch, the 7th generation from Adam, I believe, and I know. I mean, literally, it's not like something we're not familiar from the Christian Bible. We do. And we believe in their existence, and we know when they died and when they were born. Can you tell me from the Quran when Seth was born, when Enoch was born, how old when Seth died, how old when Enoch died? We don't know nothing. We know nothing from the Quran.
He was born.
Yeah.
Actually, I think though that he gave the luggage to that woman, so she bought the luggage from him.
Muhammad carried her luggage. I understand. But when you talk about Seth, you talk about Enoch. We know these characters. We know when they were born. We know when they died. It's not like you're telling me something. To the Muslim, that's something strange. Why? They picked up a name from the Bible or other source, because it could be from the legend of the Jews. The Talmud talk about them. And they made up all their story, all the things about them from thin air. Because in the Quran, there is no Seth. In the Quran, there's Enoch. They don't exist.
Yeah, but don't forget, you have Thoth, right, the Egyptian god of wisdom and the moon, who is also Enoch, who is also Idris. We've covered that before. So again, you get these overlaps. You get these crazy overlaps. Welcome, Arlette. How are you? And say hello. This is Usama. Usama, that's Arlette.
Hello, Arlette.
Yeah. Hey, doing good. How y'all doing?
We're good, thank you. Nice to have you. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on the other day, and thanks for joining us now. Any thoughts so far of just what I've been talking about here in terms of this discussion on Islam?
I've been checking in here and there. Just had breakfast and doing job applications and stuff, but it's it's bringing up a lot of memories lately of the hadith in particular, and just how chaotic they call it a science to study hadith and verify them, and it's just so humorous to me. I mean, looking at the Quran, and it says it verifies things in the previous scriptures and things like that, and it doesn't do that at all. And then they say the same people that wrote the Quran down wrote the hadith, so that's why you can trust, or dictated the hadith, and that's why you can trust it, because they were so honest and so trustworthy, and they would never do anything wrong. And this, I'm not sure if it's just like an Arabic thing where if someone's just very good at complimenting people and making them feel good, that meant they were a good person. Because I'm Italian and we really try not to do that. So
It's a culture thing. It's true.
okay.
As long as you are under the roof, when you leave their homes, they can say whatever they want to say about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, on that, I might just add, a Giant Daughter of Christ did a show a while ago explaining how they decide if a transmitter is reliable. And it was basically if they like the guy. That is actually, it's nothing to do with anything other than, oh yeah, we like the guy. He memorizes the Quran and yeah, he good Muslim. So that is the science of Isnad.
And they say that good people don't lie. Like they wouldn't lie about the prophet.
You
They
mean
wouldn't lie
Muhammad
about what
was?
he did.
You mean Muhammad is a bad people?
Well, from what I've seen said about him, I mean, there's two very, very different sides. There's a side that they sell to liberal people that he freed slaves and he had a huge, great smile and he loved women and blah, blah, blah. And then
he loved women.
The other side. Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit of everything,
he
though.
says to them in Arabic, he said to them, how can I love you if you won't lie down?
Well,
He loved even little girls more than women. I know for a fact.
yeah.
Disturbing. Yeah, so Arlette is a former pagan who got enticed into Islam and eventually left, and it's left a scar, I think, and it's still an ongoing issue. But she gave her story, and it's really it's quite a listen. You realize that there's a dark side to this, and it's really, it creeps up on you, and eventually you're trapped, and it's quite disturbing to see what happens in modern day America with Islam.
Were you a Muslim to start with, or you joined the cult later in life?
I joined it later. I was in Texas, and I lived in the area where it's like one of the largest mosques in the United States. Now they have like three of the largest, I think, like in a very small radius. But I lived there for about 4 years before they started like really working on getting you to volunteer and sucking you in. And you know nothing about hadith, you know nothing about like the wars, the apostasy. It's packaged as like feminism, but not like feminism. It's like valuing women, giving men like the place in the household and society that they deserve, and all this stuff. It's all a lie. So
yeah, I'm amazed that I met with so many American ladies here who convert Islam without knowing jack about Islam. 5 years later, they start looking at the Quran or the saying of Muhammad in the hadith, and they decided to leave Islam. But Muslims say, no, you are our Muslim female for the rest of your life, like it or not. So,
Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that Abel, Seth, and Enoch are very important. Seth and Enoch, they don't really feature, shall we say, in Christian literature, in Christian discussion and theology, although they do feature heavily within the occultic and the Gnostic communities. That's where you'll see them. And that's something we'll discuss again tomorrow. But all of this stuff overlaps. They seem to draw purely from pagan, Gnostic, occult sources, not Orthodox Christian sources, right? And then, of course, these guys also worship John the Baptist. What just happened there? It'll come back. Okay.
It is.
And the latter conferred baptism on Jesus, the Messiah. So these Mandaeans, they worship John the Baptist, okay? And they hate Paul, just out of sheer coincidence. They hate Paul, okay? That's another story I should get back to, is my polemic series, because why the hatred for Paul? And you can trace that back to the 8th century already, where Muslims hate Paul, and the stuff they write about him is bizarre.
And I think,
bizarre.
Lloyd, I know why Muslims hate Paul, because they're ignorant of Peter and James and John and the rest of the apostles' writings. They think Paul is the one who destroyed Christianity, when in fact, Paul did nothing but went back to the Old Testament to make sure that's what he teach about Christ is true. After his 4 years of studying, he was by himself in Arabia without any of the other apostles. Then he met with the apostle and he found out what he believed and what he teaches is true, because it is in agreement with the rest of the apostles of the Bible. So if you don't know Peter or James or John, for sure you hate Paul. But when you get to know Peter and James and John, you have to hate the rest of the Christians.
Well,
you have to hate
this
everybody.
is a very brief discussion on that. But you see, Muslim historians, and you got to read them, it's ridiculous. These are supposedly the top scholars of each century, right, of each period. So the Muslim historians and the scholars, they claim amongst their writings that Paul was the king of the Jews. They call him the king of the Jews. They actually believe that Paul was King Saul. I kid you not. Once you read this stuff, it's hysterical. They say that when Christ died, Christians followed Islam for 81 years. They were Muslims. Okay, Christians were Muslims for 81 years after Jesus died, and then they made a change to this new religion. Paul was a wicked Jew, an evil Jew, and what he did was he killed himself to destroy Christianity. So Paul committed suicide to destroy Christianity. They also say that Paul was a very good Christian, and he, out of hatred for the Jews, influenced the Romans to kill all the Jews. So he was a good Christian that tried to kill the Jews, but he was a wicked Jew who killed himself.
It's like listen. Look, if you are a good Muslims, you will hate the Christians and kill the Christians. It's the same idea.
Yeah, well, exactly. They say Christians never believed in Jesus' divinity. Paul fabricated this, and they say that Paul invented the concept and the doctrine of the Trinity, and then Paul caused the Crusades to happen.
Oh my word!
I kid you not.
How old was Paul when he died?
9,422 years old.
Because Crusade happened 470 years after Christ. So 474, if I know exactly. How come Paul was still alive at the time?
Okay, actually, I got it. That means that Paul has to be the green prophet. He was King Saul. And he continued. He was there for thousands of years, through Christianity, through Muhammad, to the Crusades.
But do you know, JC, according to Islam, the Green Prophet still alive today?
Yeah, Paul is around.
Wow. So he faked his death when he killed himself to destroy Christianity. I still don't know how you do that, but okay, fine. I'll just take the Muslim scholars at their word. So Paul caused the Crusades, which were fought to hide Paul's lies, you see, because Paul had lied, and what happens is the Muslims were bringing the books to prove Paul's lies to Europe, and the princes and kings of Europe decided, the French and the Italians decided, oh my God, the Muslims are going to reveal the lies that we've been telling. We need to fight them to stop the truth from coming out. True story.
Yeah. I don't know what this person who wrote this 8 points here was smoking or drinking before he pins him down.
Yeah, he was a Jesuit time-traveling ninja. That's for sure. We know this. And then a Muslim believer saved all of Christ's teachings secretly, and he waited hundreds of years. They waited hundreds of years until Muhammad came, and then they shared the true teachings of Jesus with Muhammad.
That makes sense. I like that last one.
And not only that, Paul caused confusion in Christianity. What Paul did was, Paul took aside the founder of the Nestorians, the Jacobites, and another group, the Byzantines. I'm not sure. It's in the notes somewhere. It's in the notes here. But he took aside the founders of the three great churches, and he taught the Nestorian one thing. Then he taught the Jacobite something else, and he taught I don't know who it was, the Byzantine or someone, something totally different, to cause confusion. And then he sent them out and said, "You are my chosen one. You are my disciple. Go and teach." But he taught them all three different things to confuse the hell out of people deliberately. Except that the Nestorians come about in the 5th century, so about 400 years after Paul died. Yeah. The Jacobites come out hundreds of years after Paul died, and the Byzantines come out hundreds of years after Paul died. But Paul was around in the beginning to teach them this.
Can I say the Shahada right now? No? I'll wait. Hey, I'll wait.
If I may, on all of this, they are all, of course, absolute nonsense, and it shows how in Islam they like to rewrite history. But I just mentioned about the second point, two big problems. Whoever wrote that was not a Muslim, because this contradicts the Quran. It contradicts Surah 355 very strongly, and also it says that Jesus died. Islam doesn't believe that Jesus died, so whoever wrote that became an apostate at that very precise moment.
Actually, listen. The Quran said he died and he did not die. Which verse do you like to go with? فَلَمَّا تَوَفَّيْتَنِي, when you caused me to die, and then they did not kill him nor crucify him, but it was made appear to them. So I can get it both ways. I mean, so no big deal.
Right. Paulette, any thoughts?
I'm not surprised seeing all the contradictions. I need the references for all these because I just got to share them with people. I keep trying to tell Muslims that I talk to all the time that none of their scholars, traditional or modern, agree with each other, and they get basic facts about Christianity wrong. It's not the church hiding things. The church published they've published a lot of documentation. You can go back and look at it for over 1,000 years. But they'll just say, well, that's a lie.
Sister, you know the two famous words I read in all the Arabic interpretation of the Quran verses? It is اختلف العلماء or اختلف المفسرون, which is scholars or interpreters disagree, and Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best. These are the two most repeated words for every verse in the Quran.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, but they don't act like that. They almost worship all the traditional scholars.
Well,
and if they disagree, they just hide it. I mean, that's one of the glaring contradictions I saw that really started to make me think, especially with some of the hadith I presented to my ex-husband. And he was like, well, I didn't get a fatwa for that, so I don't follow it.
Huh.
You don't understand the context behind that hadith. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's in Arabic and you guys hide it in Medina at a school that a woman can't attend. So yeah, of course I can't get to it.
No, it's obligatory for Muslims to believe the hadith.
Yeah.
It's actually obligatory.
Context or not.
It's required. But yeah, that's the discussion for another time. But yeah, so let me just continue here. But yeah, so now we turn to the Jews from Muhammad. This is from the sources of the Quran, as I said earlier. We turn to the Jews from whom Muhammad borrowed so much, his religion can almost be described as a heretical form of Judaism, right? And he says here the Ebionites too seem to have had an influence on the religion of Islam, right? And Epiphanius in Heresies, volume 10, right, describes the notions of the Ebionites of Nabathea, Moabitis, and Basanitis with regard to Adam and Jesus almost in the very words of Surah 3. So they seem to have borrowed stuff from heretics, these Ebionites, right? He tells us that they observed circumcision. They were opposed to celibacy, right? They commanded Jerusalem as their Qibla, as did Muhammad during 12 years. That they prescribed, as did the Sabians, very similar washings, ablution, very similar to those enjoined in the Quran, and allowed oaths by certain natural objects like clouds, signs of the zodiac, oil, the winds. For instance, Allah swears by the stars. You're like,
that's Islam. Allah swears by everything. When it's clear in the Bible, Brother Lloyd, that God, when he swore to Abraham, he swore by himself. And the book of Hebrews and in Genesis 18, we know why. Because there is no greater than him. If you're going to swear, I don't swear by the dirt of my ground or the poop of my dog in the backyard, because that's exactly, it's stupid. When God swear, he swear by himself. But in the Quran, he swear by the fig tree. He swear by
creation, by things of creation. That is
dirt.
Crazy.
God Almighty swear by dirt? It's like me swearing by my dog's poop. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Paulette, you nodding your head there?
Oh, just some stuff I forgot over time. I'm just laughing to myself.
All
well,
right.
It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh so you don't have to cry. Anyway, quickly here, every soul tastes the death. Quran 3:185. You can go back to it later and watch it. That means Allah must die. Why? Because in Quran chapter 5, verse 116, Isa, son of Mary, said, you know what is in my soul, and I do not know what is in your soul. Allah have a soul, therefore Allah must die.
Every soul.
Okay, let's move on. 570. Jesus into the Muslims, he's a messenger. Therefore, the Jewish could not kill him. No, Allah in the Quran said they kill many messengers. Go to next verse, 4:155. They say he was also a prophet. Therefore, the Jewish people could not kill a prophet. Well, guess what? Allah told us they are killing the prophets unjustly. And by the way, if you ask any Muslim, can you give me a name of a messenger or a prophet whom the Jewish people killed? They have zero answers. They don't know. There's no mention in the entire Quran that there is one prophet the Jewish people killed or one messenger the Jewish people killed. But the Quran assures that yes, they killed messengers and they killed prophets. And add to that, in 19, Quran chapter 19, Isa said, peace on me the day I die. The day I die. Future tense. Yes, indeed. And then we read, Allah is telling Isa, oh Isa, surely I am causing you to die. Inni mutawaffika here. Inni mutawaffika is that I'm causing you to die. Not I'm putting you to sleep. Not I'm putting you to sleep. Not I'm gathering you. That's garbage translation. That's why we put the accurate translation in our Quran here. So let's move on. So that is present tense. I am causing you. You're about to die, Jesus, in any time. Then here we go to 5:117. Isa said, so when you caused me to die, فَلَمَّا تَوَفَّيْتَنِي, this is past tense. These are the verses we know for sure that Jesus died. Okay? Muslims leave all that and to go to one ambiguous verse. So surely, Allah said, so first of all, and they're saying, this is the Jewish people, surely we killed the Christ Isa, son of Mary? The Jewish people know they killed the messenger of Allah and they know he was a messenger of Allah? That makes no sense. Anyway, so he said, and they did not kill him and they did not crucify him. That is stupid. Normally, you crucify the person first so he can die. No, they did not kill him and they did not crucify him. You mean you kill people first and then you crucify him second? What a strange order. But it was made to appear to them. No, this is hogwash Islam. There's no truth in it whatsoever. We can talk about that.
Right.
In
Yeah, JC discussed it last week when we went through the different stories, the variations on the story, and it's taken from all of these Docetic and other Gnostic groups. And then even the Tafsir will say, no, there's different versions of this, but they speak in the Tafsir of Jesus laughing and looking at him on the cross. And that is
if the story in the Quran is true, when you read the Tafsir of Muslim scholar, you will doubt the story. Can you imagine that? That the huge stupidity and contradictions in the interpretation, who did die instead of Isa? It is so stupid that if the story is true in the Quran, I will leave Islam. Go ahead. Move
right.
on.
So he says that the Jews possessed inspired books and were undoubtedly descended from Abraham, whom the Quraysh and the other tribes claimed as their ancestor also, and gave the Israelites great weight and influence. Native legends would naturally therefore undergo a process of assimilation with the history and traditions of the Jews. So by a summary adjustment, the story of Palestine became the story of the Hijaz. Now, this is a conclusion that was drawn well over a century ago. I mean, this guy was writing this like 130, 140 years ago.
Man.
And these ideas you can find going back a century before that. Right?
How long did you have this book, Lloyd?
I mean, this was first published.
How long do you personally have that book?
4 or 5 years, I don't know.
Oh, so it's a new book to you.
I guess so, but I mean, he started writing this stuff about this like in the 1890s.
I bet you people thought the man is crazy or nuts when he wrote that book. I don't know.
I don't think so. Back then, I think Islam had no power back then. It was weak.
Oh,
and I think people were then looking at it academically. And it says, although the indigenous rites may have been little, if at all, altered by the adoption of the Israelite legends, they came to be received in a totally different light and to be connected in Arab imagination with something of the sanctity of Abraham, the friend of Allah. It was upon this common ground that Muhammad took his stand and proclaimed to his people a new spiritual system in accents to which the whole peninsula could respond. He needed to adapt it to Arabia, to the whole That was the whole pagan culture that he had to adapt it into. The rites of the Kaaba were retained, but stripped of all idolatrous tendency. They still hang a strange, unmeaning shroud around the living theism of Islam. And familiarity with the Abrahamic races also introduced the doctrine of the immortality of the soul, the resurrection of the dead, but these were held with many fantastic ideas of Arabian growth. Okay, a vast variety of biblical languages was also in common use, or at least sufficiently in use to be commonly understood. So he's saying that there was lots of different religions, there were multiple different cultures, they were sharing lots of different stories, and in his view, Islam was borrowing stuff: faith, repentance, heaven and hell, the devil, the angels, right? These are all elements acquired from some Jewish source, right? Either current or ready for adoption, right? And the fall of man, the flood, the destruction of the cities of the plain, all of this is being borrowed, okay?
And it makes sense. If you're talking about Gabriel, which Muhammad called Jibril in the Arabic language, there is no name Jibril in the Quran. But he obviously talked about the Spirit of Allah, he made him Jibril, or an angel made him Jibril, and other angels, the angel of death. There's no names in the Quran, there's no details in the Quran. So obviously he was influenced by the legends of the Jews, which by the way were written between 200 to 500 after Christ. At the time of the writing of the Talmud, if it's a Babylonian Talmud or the Jerusalem Talmud, either one.
Right. Any comments from you, JC or Olet? Otherwise, I'll continue. So,
well, I'll just say with Jibril, I think in different Qira'at is spelled differently, like Jibrin, so they don't even know how to spell it. I think the Rasam is different in Qira'at, which I find it very interesting.
Right. One should wonder, yeah, we need to look into that at some point. So early Arabian writers inform us that when Muhammad appeared, the Jews were expecting the advent of the Messiah. It should be noted that the Messiah the Jews were waiting for was a warrior Messiah, and he would free them from Roman occupation, and they would fight to get back their land, right? And they were expecting the advent of the Messiah, and they used to frequently threaten their enemies with a vengeance which the coming prophet would take upon them. This no doubt had its influence in leading some among the Arabs, right, especially the Banu Khazraj of Medina, as Ibn Ishaq says, to accept Muhammad as the prophet whose advent was predicted. And Muhammad declared that he was divinely commissioned not to found a new religion, but to bring men back to the faith of Abraham. So, of course, he wanted to gain the Jews over to his side. He adopted Jerusalem as the Qibla, and he directed his followers to imitate Jewish practice by turning their faces towards Jerusalem. Later on, when he breaks with the Jews and he found it therefore useful to conciliate with the Arabs, he adopts Mecca. So this is just political convenience.
Yep, he did it all his life. Towards the east, towards the west, and Allah corrected him and said, we'll give you a good Qibla. Yes, indeed.
And he says, when he arrived in Medina, he saw the Jews engaged in observances of the Day of Atonement. He enjoined upon his own followers the same observance, adopting even the same name, in Arabic, Ashura, the name by which it is known among the Jews. So it is not until April AD 624, after his argument with the Jews, Muhammad instituted the Eid al-Duha or whatever, which festival is first. Sorry?
It's right, Eid al-Adha.
Oh, okay, fine, that one. Is supposed to commemorate Abraham's sacrifice of Ishmael, as the Muslims assert. So notice Islamic.
The verse in the Quran did not say who is the son, but the following verse in the end of the story, and we made his son Isaac a great prophet. That is a great evidence that he's talking about Isaac, not Ishmael, as you see in the interpretation of Al-Tabari and Al-Qurtubi. They will tell you scholars disagree, do not know, but they say it could be Isaac, it could be Ishmael, when in reality it is Isaac.
Right. So there's a lot that he notes that was borrowed from Judaism as well. I mean, with its own little special twist on it, but
sure.
you definitely see that, right? We see Jewish influence at work both in Muhammad's adoption of their rights when he wanted to gain the Jews, and he changed them when he gave up trying to convert the Jews to his side.
Because it did not work, Lloyd. He tried it for 13 years, according to the Islamic narrative, and did not work. How many Jewish people believed in Muhammad, migrated from him, from Mecca to Medina? None.
Yep.
So what is
But
the
also,
point?
other scholars have remarked that Abraham has no significance in Islam until the Jews reject Muhammad, and only then does he start to say, "Hold on, but Abraham is Muslim."
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Because then he can plant himself at the beginning, at the lineage. He wants to gain some kind of lineage, and then he claims, of course, then afterwards that Abraham was in Mecca. I mean, how are they going to get away with that? Yeah, there's no way.
No. They figure out the way he did it. I told you that before. Remember, if you have the Earth's map, like here we go one more time because you're not getting it. Here is Mecca and here is Jerusalem. The Earth used to fold for Muhammad. So when the Earth fold, he can only walk for a few feet, and then after he make his trip back from Mecca to Jerusalem, Israel, the Earth open again. So it is easy to make the trip. He just
I
has
saw that in a movie once. What's that movie where you go into the dreams and then
Tom and Jerry? Was it Tom and Jerry or somebody else? Because I remember Tom and Jerry have something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Somehow I thought you were going to say about Event Horizon, and they copied that from Islam. But just about this author, so it looks like he realized all of these parallels. I reckon that people over 100 years ago, so these scholars would have find it very easy to notice all of these parallels. Now we are living through times when we have heard too many hadiths. We have been exposed to too many of the lies of Islam. So it's very difficult for us to disconnect from that and say, well, that's rubbish. Let me go to the sources. We've basically heard the lies first. But these guys, probably they could really see these things very clearly because they had not been bombarded with too many lies. It's like it will be easier for you to see things clearly about
Makes
Buddhism
sense.
if you don't know anything about it and you pick it up for the first time than if you have been told a different story for many decades. So
Yes,
that's probably
absolutely.
something.
I concur.
right. Yeah, I'll let
I
you
agree
can
with
jump in at any time.
Yeah, I'm horrible at jumping in. So yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm trying to go back for resources that are at least 30 or so years old because it kind of cuts out all the nonsense of the Dawa script that you get recently. And also that if people are curious to see the changes that Muhammad was making over time, you can look at a chronological timeline of when he first started until his death. And then the Quran isn't presented to us in the order that it was given to him, supposedly. It's longest to shortest now. So
the
if
word
you
order
follow,
is not the word order does not exist in our dictionary. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, okay, well, whatever you want to replace that with, you can see the clear changes when he starts to, when he's weak, everything's very peaceful. Your religion is yours. The hadith are even, I don't even know if there's like a clear timeline of hadith unless you like have specific events in the hadith themselves, which is a little bit confusing. But, if you can pair up the hadith and the Quran and then his timeline, you're going to see a clear progression of being super nice, being weak, nobody listening to him, calling him, the ear, he hears things, regurgitates it. I mean,
That's
everybody
true.
in Arabia, from the Coloridians that worship Mary and gave her cakes because they thought she was a goddess, to the infancy gospel of Thomas, to the Jewish bedtime fairy tales he inserted into the Quran. It's very clear you're going to see the entire progression. So I highly recommend people try to do that.
Yeah. Look at the order, Brother Lloyd. Tell us about that order, brother.
JC, you're the one who brought this up.
Yeah, when Arlette actually mentioned about the order, it's like, well, this is the order. I mean, how can we doubt Islam when the first revelation that happened is chapter 96? And the last one is normally actually given as number 9. When you actually look at this, and if you just think about it for a little while, you'll realize that people put this book together with all of these stories from the Jews, from the Christians, from everywhere. And then the tafsir writers, they have a job to do. They have to make all of that about Muhammad in the Hijaz. That's how they find things. Surah 96 sounds like one of these hymns that was sung in the Eastern Orthodox Church. So it actually sounds like this. One guy actually sent me a rendering that makes more sense than what it says at the moment. But because it says read in the name of your Lord, they say, okay, let's make that the first revelation about Muhammad. And lots of stories appear about this. Just
so
look at
5, by
this.
the way, 5 is a Syrian prayers. So who knows this for a fact? And what's amazing about order, even when you go to the largest chapter 2 in Quran, for 286 verse, you see the orders of the writings of the stories in that chapter is different than the order of the writing of the same stories in other chapters. So it's like, was Noah before Abraham or Moses before Noah, or who's doing what? It's different. It's always different order. So that's why we don't have the word order in our Arabic dictionary, so people will not think about it.
The chronology was invented after Islam. So in the 7th century, it was normal to just, do things in this manner. So, yeah.
It's funny. It's comedy. All right, forget about the order. Let's go back to our real study.
So it is to the period shortly before, and especially to that which immediately followed the Hijrah, according to tradition, that most of these verses of the Quran belong, in which it is asserted that the Quran is in accord with the teaching of the prophets of Israel. No, it's not. And that this constitutes a decisive proof that it is from God. At the time Muhammad introduced into the surahs which he delivered a particularly large measure of Jewish legends.
You know, it's amazing. I just discovered last week that Muslims do not know what is Torah. Imagine the first 5 books of the Bible, not just general Muslims do not know what is Torah, what is written in the Torah. Because when you read the Genesis account, you learn about Adam, you learn about Noah, you learn about Abraham, you learn, there's so many stories you learn about. The entire Genesis account until the end of Joseph. Now, you think when you read these stories in the Quran, because they're all over the chapters in what we call no order, you think that these chapters and these stories they have nothing to do with Moses, because the story of Abraham, I guarantee you, is written in the Suhaf Ibrahim, in the books of Abraham. Where is the books of Abraham? And so if Muslims do not know what Torah is, for heaven's sake, what does he know? Does he know anything?
Yeah, well, we can go back here, remember? So 104 books were sent, okay?
Yeah, they were writing in the days of theft. What was written on the woods boards? Rocket
so
board?
We can say here, Muslims believe that 104 books were sent from heaven in the following order. Adam got 10 books. Where are those books? How were they delivered? Was it DHL?
Maybe.
Right? How were they printed? Right? Seth got 50 books. Enoch got 30 books. And Abraham got 10 books. Where are the 10 books of Abraham? I'd love to
the funny thing, you look at Moses, the Torah. What is the Torah? They don't know. And it's so amazing. You know how ridiculous this is? Muslim will tell you, we believe in Moses and we believe in the Torah. And they don't know jack about Moses and they have no idea what is the Torah. How can you believe in, they believe in all these books you mentioned.
Except all those books are corrupted. And the ones they can't find, well, just too bad.
But how can you believe in Prophet Enoch with his 30 books, or Prophet Idris, with his 30 books, or any of these books? How can you believe in it when you don't have a copy of it?
Yeah, actually, a couple of things. First is that if this was the belief back then that means that in Islam, 103 books of Allah have been lost and corrupted. But trust me, bro, the Quran is perfect because the track record is amazing. But if this was written like over 100 years ago, this is not the belief that they have now. I think the belief now is that Moses had books, David, Jesus, Abraham, and then Muhammad, right? Only that. So it looks, if this guy was given the correct information, the story changed in the last 100 years.
Yeah, but let me prove to you. The books of Moses is in the Torah. We read in the Quran and we wrote to them in the Torah, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. If I open the book of Deuteronomy today, I will find eye for eye, tooth for tooth. So I know that's one of the books of the Torah. And the Muslims do not know that. I, a non-Muslim who does not believe in the Quran, I know that. David, he wrote the book of Zabur, and we wrote them in the Zabur. Al-ard yarithuha ibad as-salihun. The earth would be inherited by the righteous servant. I found that in the book of Psalms. I know where it's at, but how can Muslims believe in the book of Psalms, the book of Zabur, 150 chapters, and all what they got out of it is one verse?
That was the only uncorrupted verse, and they can prove it.
Oh, but the rest of the 150 chapters were corrupted.
Yeah, for sure. But I just like a copy of the book of Enoch that they have. I mean, Arlette, your thoughts. Your thoughts.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's something that bothers me because I love the Psalms, and there's one proof of one in there, and like there's no proof of any of these other books. Actually, I didn't even know that Adam came with books. And they literally don't know what's in the Torah. They keep talking about the Talmud as if it's like the Word of God come down, and they don't even understand what the content in it is. I can't, it's so hard to listen to them. I swear to you, like I lose brain cells.
It's bizarre, but as you find out more, they change the narrative to get rid of the embarrassing stuff.
Yeah, but
yeah, all the time.
Your problem, sister, is you used your brain. You were not supposed to use the cells in your brain. You made a mistake. That's why you are now an infidel.
Ah, well, I thought I had half a brain anyway, so I didn't think they were going to listen to me, but I tend to like make them mad all the time.
Wait a minute.
I'm just reading their sources.
In half of the brain when you became a Muslim? You believed in that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know? Okay,
no, they told me I was precious and needed protected and
precious.
All these
you're
things.
You're precious to me. If some Muslim would like to have you, of course you're precious to him. MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not their opening line when they try to convince a woman to join Islam. They don't say, well, we believe that you have the intelligence, and by the way, you're going to have half of the rights of men. That is not their opening, the selling points. No.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, and I mean, they speak of 22 books in the Quran, okay? Apparently they, and they speak of thousands, but I mean, they know a little bit of John, David, Solomon, Elias, Job, Jonah, Ezra, Luqman, whoever that is, Dhul Qafil, Elisha, and so on. So, but Enoch, Hud, Salih, yeah, but these books, I mean, so these guys brought down books. What happened to the books they brought down? Nobody knows. Nobody has a copy. They don't even have a copy of the Injil for us. And
it's amazing. According to this same ideology, every nation has its own prophet. So I wonder what happened to the prophet of the Chinese. What happened to his book? Why would we never mention of him? I mean, how about the prophets of all the different countries in Africa? We should have at least a bunch of prophets. And why we have 4 Arab prophets instead of just one? You mentioned Salih and Hud and what's his name, the other guy, Shu'aib. Okay, why we have these other Arab prophets if every nation have its own prophet? And why Allah contradicts all that by telling us that the prophethood and the scripture were set apart for the children of Jacob?
But also the Quran tells us that prophecy was given to the Jews.
Yes.
It does say that. So that means Muhammad was a Jew.
Yeah. So Alexander the Great was a Jew too. I know.
And he gives no prophecy in the Quran, but trust me, bro.
It is there, but you cannot see it. First, you see the Shahada, and then Allah will show it to you. I know that for a fact.
I mean, as Muslims will tell you in this very famous book, The 300 Authenticated Miracles of Muhammad. Yeah.
300?
Actually, Muhammad brought thousands of miracles because every surah of the Quran, every ayah of the Quran is a miracle. So every ayah is a miracle. So he brought over 6,000 miracles. Believe it or not.
Man, believe it or not.
Yeah. And hold on, actually.
Can you share at least one of these miracles of Muhammad? I need to refresh my memory.
Hold on, man. This book is totally arbitrary. I'm trying to, there's an amazing story they tell of how they're trying to defend at the Battle of Banu
Qurayza.
Yeah, whatever, that battle, that one. And then they're digging trenches, and then there's a big rock.
Well,
and Muhammad prays, and he takes his spade and he hits the rock, and the rock turns to sand. And he says they were starving because they were so hungry that they took rope and they tied rocks on their bellies to stop themselves from starving, to squeeze their stomachs flat. So, yeah. See, during the Battle of Trenches, while digging, remember, these are, hold on, I got to re-emphasize, these are 300 authenticated miracles of Mahomo, okay?
It means that for real. That authenticated means like 100% true.
100 billion%.
Okay, tell me about the trenches, man. I need to hear them.
Come on, this is a Muslim telling us.
These ones are the ones that we know that he did it too. Okay, then there are lots of others that we cannot be sure. He probably did those miracles as well, but they cannot be authenticated. But these ones are 100% authentic.
Okay. I'm willing to listen. Teach me, brother. Teach me.
As always, Allah knows BS.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. I did not know what.
During the Battle of the Trenches, means while digging the trench, a hard rock.
Before you read the story, man, please, what BS means again? My English is not very good. I'm learning.
BST. Allah knows BS.
Oh, okay, BST. I remember now. What is it? Go ahead.
It's basically a very technical word that's got something to do with the male cow.
Male. Oh, that's disgusting. Now you remind me, it's a bad word, because I told my wife the other day, honey, you are and I said that, and she slapped me. Look, my eye broke here, because she slapped me. So I cannot. And now I remember. I'll never use that.
Is terrible, But look, I can tell you, I know what it's like. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories in the world. Like, for instance, they say that the dinosaurs were killed by a meteor.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a fake story about what happened to Hansel and Gretel. Let me tell you something. I'm married to a Polish woman. I know what killed the dinosaurs. I am pretty sure my wife's family is involved with what happened to Hansel and Gretel.
See, that's actually, I need to confess. I told you the pair scratched my chest. That was my wife's fingernails. You see that?
Oh, we did. Oh God, that's too much information. That is way too much. Please, we have sweet people here.
I'm sorry, man. I'm just trying to confess. I lied to you earlier.
Oh God, yeah. Close your ears, please, Oleg. Close your eyes and then.
Read about. I need to know about the trench, man. You're not telling me the story.
What kind of channel is this? Like, can we just get back to business here, people?
Yes, please. Get serious.
During the battle, come on, this is one of the 300 authenticated miracles.
Authenticated. I know now what the word authenticated means.
During the Battle of the Trenches, while digging the trench, a hard rock was causing great difficulty, for it could not be broken by the pick. When the holy prophet, peace be upon him, was informed, he dropped down into the trench and gave such a blow with the pick that 1/3 of the rock was hewed asunder. Thereupon the apostle said, "Glory be to Allah. The keys of Syria have been given to me." With the second blow of the pick, the apostle hewed another 1/3 of the rock and said, "Glory be to Allah. The keys of Persia have been given to me. By Allah, I see the white castle of Madain," that's Ctesiphon, Baghdad. In the third attempt, the remaining portion of the rock was broken to pieces. The apostle then said, "Glory be to Allah. I've been given the keys of Yemen. By Allah, I can now see the gates of Sana'a." That's Ibn Kathir, volume 3, page 194.
Muhammad was so strong. Muhammad, you're so strong, Muhammad. You're so strong. Would you please marry me? Okay, go ahead.
While digging the trench, whenever a party felt a difficulty owing to the existence of any hard rock which could not be broken or removed, the prophet called for some water and put a little of his saliva into it. Then he prayed as Allah willed him to pray and directed to sprinkle the water on the rock, which pulverized like a heap of sand. True story. True story. For realsies.
What is the source for this? That's Ibn Hisham.
Ibn Hisham. Apparently so.
Ibn Hisham never lied, man. I believe every word he says.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you. You don't seem convinced. I'm seeing a little look of doubt there. You know?
I mean, they have a very strange obsession with his bodily fluids. That's just very disturbing to me. Oh God. And just how the heck is this verified? What is verified? Did they keep the rock or something? And he was having visions? Like, how do you verify visions? You can't verify visions.
Stored in the Isnad chain.
So trust me, bro, is essentially.
I mean,
but we have a problem more than that.
A little bit.
Is Allah in the Quran wrong, or the hadith you're reading for me is right? Because Allah said here, we did not send to you with any miracles, because we sent it in the past and it did not work. People did not believe. Should I believe Allah? Should I believe your garbage lie you have in your book, the trench and the rock and the Allah's will and Allah's will and Allah's will, the lies you told us?
You know,
maybe it was abrogated.
No, but Allah's word, the Quran, is true, sister. This is the word of Allah.
Abrogation.
Yeah, even Janice is lost for words here. She says, "What can I say?" I mean, so I don't know. The story of Muhammad versus the rock, that was probably the one that the goat ate.
Listen, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in the Quran where Allah said he did not give Muhammad any miracles. As a matter of fact, that's in Quran chapter 17, if I remember it right. MashaAllah.
And also, I don't know why you guys are disbelieving that he split that rock. I mean, he split the moon. That was much, much bigger. So the rock was easy for him.
No
Okay.
comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Logic.
Rightio. So yeah. So anyway, but true story. It's a true story.
Is everything you say is true? You're lying to me.
Hey,
True story. You think I was born yesterday?
300 authenticated miracles of Mahomo.
Mahomo, my foot. Listen, Allah said.
They're Sahih miracles. Actually, it would be a good thing to maybe just read them at one point, just for a laugh.
And this was published in 1993, okay? So this goes back before the internet, so it's true. Yeah, and this book has the unique distinction of the most comprehensive and systematic approach to the miracles of the Prophet. It wants to establish the supremacy of the spiritual world over the material one for the Prophet's show to the... Okay, that's not even English, whatever. That's just murdering the language right there. So yeah, you know, he was whatever. Okay, let's move on. So guys, look, for the audience, you guys have seen the true power of Muhammad. Okay, the rock splitter, the moon splitter, he spits on rocks and they turn to sand, and when he takes a dump, the trees come and walk around behind him and cover him.
I like that one. Yeah.
Oh, that's
also, when the rocks see him, they greet him, probably because they don't want to be split by him.
Yeah. So this Mr. Clown Show here, he says, why don't you let people challenge your claims? Look, we're reading Islamic sources. What's there to challenge? That's what the Muslims say. It's really very simple. You know, it's really very simple. You know, it's what they say, that they need to back up their claims with evidence. You know, but those are the 300 authentic miracles of Muhammad. So, and he says that very much of the Quran is directly derived from Jewish books, not so much from the Old Testament scriptures as from the Talmud and other post-biblical writings. And although the Arabian Jews doubtless possessed copies of their holy books, they were not distinguished for learning, and then as now, for the most part, they practically gave greater heed to the rabbinical traditions than to the word of God. And in fact, you'll find scholars that say that the early Christians living in Arabia weren't the most educated. They were more fascinated by legends and myths than by the actual Bible. And they didn't have access to the full Bible. They had a few chapters here and there. And they were more fascinated with telling these myths, and these myths and legends made their way into the Quran. So it is not surprising, therefore, to find little real knowledge of the Old Testament in the Quran. As we shall see, it contains a great deal of Jewish legend. So he goes on to the story of Cain and Abel, which we'll discuss next. So any thoughts so far on this? I mean, we're learning a lot here about Muhammad and the authenticity of the historical record.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Yeah. So the Quran does mention the names of these two sons of Adam. The commentators call them Qabil and Habil. Oh, the Quran does not mention, it doesn't know the names. Qabil and Habil, or whatever. Okay? And it says, it gives the following account. So I'm going to skip over most of it. We've covered this before in our sections on the Quran. A conversation or other argument between Cain and Abel is mentioned in a Jewish legend in the Targum of Jonathan and the Targum of Jerusalem. But the source, okay, so there's an argument between Cain and Abel, and Cain, we're told, said there's no punishment for sin, nor is there any reward for good conduct. Abel asserted there was, that good was rewarded by God and evil was punished. So Cain took up a stone in anger and hit his brother and killed him. So the resemblance between this narrative and that given in the beginning of the foregoing quotation of the Quran is not striking. But the source of the rest of the Quranic account of the murder is the legend related in the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 11. Right? Adam and his friend were sitting, weeping and lamenting over him, Abel, and they did not know what to do with Abel, for they were not acquainted with burial. Yet at that point in history, nobody knew what a funeral was. A raven, one of whose companions had died, came. He took him and dug in the earth and buried him before their eyes. Adam said, now this is Adam, not Cain, I shall do as this raven. And immediately he took Abel's corpse and dug in the earth and buried it. When we compare the Jewish legend with the one in the Quran, we see that the only difference is that in the former, the raven taught Adam how to bury the body, whereas in the Quran, it is Cain. So you see this guy, Mr. Nook here, you see, all these people can do is distract. Notice they're changing the subject. They're not dealing with the source that we're dealing with. All they're going to do is they're going to distract. They're going to talk about this and that and everything else, everything other than what we're discussing, because they cannot defend what they're actually seeing here, right? They can't give us evidence that these are actual verified miracles, right?
Yeah.
They aren't able to explain how these legends, literal myths, comic book stories for kids made their way into the Quran as the literal revelation from Allah. Also, we should note that Deuteroscopy 22, when's the last time a Jew or a Christian stoned anyone to death? Never. As in absolutely freaking never. If you can find someone, you're going to have to go back 3,500 years. When's the last time a Muslim stoned a woman to death? Probably yesterday.
Or maybe today.
May I also, yeah, exactly. So I would point out that that's actually still in Sharianity's practice today. And when people use that argument, is every time that anyone used this sort of argument, every Christian will think, but he's the one who they brought us an actual adulterer to be stoned, or basically to be judged. And Jesus said, he who is free from sin, make us the first stone. It's like every Christian will think about that. Yet we get that message, and then we look at Islam, and they are doing it. Yeah. It's like, that's curious.
When was Mosaic law last applied? Like freaking never.
Okay. The problem, Lloyd, is you think in America that Muslims, like the rest of the world, they love to read, they have access to knowledge, they're smart. The Japanese read roughly around average 115 book a year. 115 book a year. The Arab, one book in their life is called the Quran. Okay? And if they're so sharp, if they're really scholars, they can memorize it. And it doesn't matter if they know Arabic or not. I mean, I got to meet some foreigner Muslims from Indonesia who memorize the entire Quran, and they don't know jack about what they're saying. So if you read that book once in your life, you are a good Muslim. Okay? If you memorize it, you are a scholar of Islam. Now, you don't have to understand the jack about, because so much of this book you cannot understand, period. I mean, I got a master's degree. And I still cannot understand it. You understand it by reading the scholars of Islam interpretation. And when you investigate it, it's actually the writing of the legends of the Jews. They will go back to the Quran, no, to the Talmud, and they read about a guy by the name Cain, and a guy by the name Abel, and Adam. Well, Allah in the Quran is different, because you see, the Talmud is corrupted, but the Quran is right. It was not Adam, it was his brother Cain. You see, I got the story, I got the interpretation. But the Quran does not say jack about Cain and Abel. They don't even have their names.
They don't even have the names, yeah.
But how Ibn Kathir, Al-Tabari, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Jalalain, Al-Badawi, Al-Damakhshari, how does these people know their names? Oh, they went to the legend. But the legend said Adam, but the legend is wrong. And we got the true story in the Quran.
Actually, I mean, I got rid of that retard that was here a moment ago. I just want to show you something.
Show me, please. I cannot wait to see something.
This is the Reliance of the Traveler. Just briefly, this is the most popular Islamic law manual in the English world. In fact, it's worldwide, okay?
And by the way, 95% fit with U.S. Constitution. Sharia, Islamic law, and U.S. Constitution
bring
almost
up
on the same
this,
page.
right?
The difference is small and minor.
I'll find it in a moment. Notice they speak of stoning here. A pregnant woman is not stoned to death until she gives birth. Now remember, apparently Deuteronomy is evil because it talks about stoning people, which hasn't happened for 3,500 years. But then this is written and finished in the 1400s, and here it's talking about stoning people.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's horrible. It's evil when it's in the Bible, but it's just hunky-dory when the Muslims do it. And in the hadith, the adulteress, okay, no, not that one. I need to find, hold on, prepubescent. I'm just going to look that up because I need to find that reference. Not this reference to prepubescent.
You talk about marriage to little children?
If the offender is someone with the capacity to remain a virgin, then he or she is stoned to death. This is Islamic law, right? This is still good today. So it's okay when Muslims do it, but if it's mentioned in the Bible by, we worship the same God, we have the same God, it's actually the same God. So if the same God has the same ruling in the Bible, it's evil. But if it's in Islamic law, then it's good, it's fine. So these people are hypocrites, they're liars, and I have no time for them. I'll let you want to say something?
I was just wincing because I wasn't sure what thing you were going to bring up about the prepubescent girls.
So much there.
They don't understand their own Quran. I mean, they say they're obligated to learn, and yet they consider memorizing something in a language they don't even speak learning. They don't really learn the language. It's not an obligation. And, you go through all their manuals and they point stuff out in the Old Testament when they don't even understand Christian theology to begin with. They only understand Jewish theology, which there are so many things you have to do to get to a point of stoning somebody. It's near impossible, really. Mm-hmm. So it's like the most harsh thing you could possibly do. And it's to make a point that this is a really bad thing. Don't do it. Not that they want to get, stone happy with their favorite rocks and murder people. But, you see this every single day in Islamic countries, especially like Afghanistan and Pakistan. Like they do it all the time. And it's for women that even get things forced onto them intimately. Like they will assault her and hurt her because they think she dishonored her family.
I love when they brought Jesus, a woman who was caught in the act. She was actually having sex when they catch her. And they brought her to Jesus, and Jesus gave us a wonderful rule. Whoever among you without sin, let him cast a stone. And obviously, the Bible says they all left, start from the old to the young, because they're all sinners. And Jesus was the only one who can condemn her because he's the only one without sin. He's the only one who have the right to stone her. But he said to her, what? Go and sin no more. Neither will I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Why? Because Jesus just let her sin go by? No, because he paid for her sin. You don't pay for the sin twice, one time. He died on the cross for her sin. And if you look at this savage way of stoning, we have a story in the Middle East. Is a very shocking story that a woman was stoned by the people, and her father actually, who draws a big rock over her head and ended the suffering for her. And then a little bit later, the mom confessed that it was the father who has been raping her. She was pregnant by the son of her own father. So not only they are not perfect, they have sins in their life. They are the second party of sin. That young lady could not get pregnant by herself. She needed her father to rape her so he can get her pregnant, so he can stone her because of the honor. What honor, you garbage? What honor?
Yeah. Look at this headline. She was dying. She was actually at one point dying. She was ill, and he took advantage of her. And she wasn't, shall we say, volunteering for this, okay?
Yeah, there's something grossly ironic about this is they say hijab and covering all of the curves of a woman's body protects them from men outside the house, but you can wear tons of makeup and jewelry and perfume inside the house because your family's safe. That was always so backwards to me, and this stuff is so common.
Sister, the problem is Muslims' men's eye, not women.
No.
Not women.
You
Go ahead,
see,
brother.
but if you actually look at at what says at the top, the problem is not that. The problem is Bradford men. The problem is nothing to do with anything other than Bradford. We have a problem in Bradford. We have to go and speak with those lads over there. See?
Yeah. So this Muslim came on and he was like, we're three clowns. Oh, why don't we talk to a Muslim about, who knows his stuff? I mean, this guy then comes on and misrepresents Christianity, misrepresents the Bible. I mean, this is crazy. That is historical description. But Islamic law prescribes stoning.
Yeah, in details. In details.
Yeah, and we can find historical references. I could have brought up imagery and news reports of women being stoned.
Just 3 weeks ago, I was speaking in a Republican group in Oregon, and the gentleman who's in charge of the Republican just happened to be, no, not just happened. 18 years ago, he was in one of the Muslim country who practice these laws. So I was talking about Sharia and the cutting in the hand and the stoning to death. And I opened the Quran and I opened the Legend of the book you just mentioned, Amd al-Salik, the Reliance of the Traveler. I'm sharing that with the people there, and he spoke after me, and I could not believe it that he actually saw that. He said they were playing soccer in that soccer field, not with the soccer ball, but with the heads of those whom they beheaded. And the guy, a little boy, like 18 years old or 20 years old, have a chain, a big wire chain. Instead of you have keys in it, they actually have hands in it. The bunch of hands they cut on that day. Proudly walking with it, carries him on his hand. We are creating a savage animals in the Muslim world, and we allow this to come to America. And guess what they're going to bring to us? They're going to bring us a beautiful, loving, peaceful Islam.
I have a friend of mine in the US who sent me this. I'm just going to show this. You won't see her name. And give me a second. I'm going to just bring this up because this was disturbing.
Welcome to Islam. If it's disturbing, it must be Islam. I don't even know. You don't have to tell me where it come from. Disturbing Islam. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to show this. She sent me this. I've been talking with her this weekend. She's South African. She's based in the US. So I sent her stuff on Islam and sex with children. Okay. I'm looking for information about Islam and child abuse. A friend of mine recently told me she's married to a Muslim man and she's not Muslim. So he said that her children, his 3 girls, are lawful to him.
Yes, absolutely. That is Sharia. If you are sleeping with a woman as a prostitute, not married to, unless she have a real wedding, that's a different story. The daughters come out of that sexual relationship. The Muslim man, it is in Sharia, the Muslim man has the right, and it's lawful for him to be married. As a matter of fact, not just Sharia, that is the direct word of Allah. Sahran wa naslan. Let me give you the verse. Just a minute.
Yeah. No, because so he can sleep. In other words, he can have sex with those children.
Oh yeah. Sahran wa naslan. Just a minute.
That is disgusting. I mean, I'll give her a call tomorrow or something, but this is sick. This is Islam. This is the
okay.
By the way,
Go to Quran, brother. Go to Quran chapter
this guy
25.
came on. This is obviously a Muslim. Wasiul Wahid Wasi. There's no Sky Daddy. You guys have as much legitimacy as guys debating Superman versus Goku. Everything is fictional.
No.
This is a Muslim. He's simply pretending to be an atheist to distract, to change the topic, to get the focus off of Islam. Right? He wants to defend this argument he's presenting. The simple issue is, obviously, the problem is that we're discussing stuff that's uncomfortable for them.
Sure.
So now he's going to try and make you change the subject.
It is sad. Can you do me a favor,
before
Brother Lloyd? Quran chapter 25 and verse 54. Get it ready while Brother JC is speaking.
Okay,
Quran 25, 54. Go ahead, JC.
Yes, before we can actually go with that, but before we move on, if you can reshare that thing that I put there, I want to see if I can stick the landing.
Go ahead.
This just very briefly. So Muslims believe in abrogation. The whole Quran abrogates verses even within the Quran. Therefore, if Christians follow Jesus, Jesus abrogates, according to Islam, everything that came before it. They should never go to Moses or anything that came before it because they believe in abrogation. Now, strictly speaking, the Bible would say, yeah, stoning is in the Bible, but Christians don't do it. When it comes to Islam, it is not in the Quran, but they do it. Islam is always the reverse of absolutely everything. According to them, they do it. It's not in the Quran because it was abrogated by a sheep. A sheep ate these verses. So something that they claim was in the Quran, the prophet dies, they still have that writing, it gets eaten by a goat or a sheep, and they continue doing it even though they don't have a proof. So think about that. In the Bible, it says something, and then it gets abrogated. In the Quran, it's not there, but they do it.
They do it anyway.
But the Almighty God, brother, the Almighty God did not abrogate the verse. He just ate it. Okay?
Yeah.
So, did you get Quran 25, Brother Lloyd?
Yeah, 25. Which one? So Quran
verse 54, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Double check. 25.
54.
54. Here.
Read the bold statement if you don't mind.
The interpretation of the following verse by the Muslim scholar Al-Qurtubi clearly teaches that a man can marry his own daughter or his sister who was conceived from an adulterous relationship.
This is Islam. This is Quran. You go to the great scholar Al-Qurtubi, and you don't have to worry about me. Just don't believe me. Just go look and read it. Study, O Muslim. Learn your Islam. What the verse said, brother?
I'm just going to send this to my friend. I'm just going to send this to my friend quickly because she's going to need this.
Sure.
That was 2554, right?
Yes, sir. And he is who created people from.
And he is who created the people from the waters. So he made it a relative and a kinship, and your Lord was mighty. And they serve without Allah that which did not profit them, nor harm them.
Is this relatives and kinship? Relatives and kinship. That is the two words.
Islamic law as well. You can find it in Islamic
It is Sharia. Absolutely. It's 100%. I sleep with a woman right now. Get her pregnant. I get the baby out of her. That baby is mine too. I can sleep with the mama and the baby.
Yeah. I mean, this is messed up. This is messed up.
And by the way, in Sharia, the part you have a minute ago, in the book you have, I was going to talk about it, but we forget about. Turn the pages off and we'll go down. You see there that a man can have sexual relationship with his sister if he bought her. So if you have a sister and you bought her with your money, as a matter of fact, it said if he have part of her ownership. So two guys marry a girl. Two guys bought a girl. One of them, if that girl is his sister, a man has the right to sleep with her. His own sister.
Yeah.
That is sick.
That's disgusting. Islam is evil. Understand?
The Bible is corrupted. Evil. The Bible is corrupted and Islam is true now.
Islam needs to be destroyed.
And by the way, brother JC, you said the Quran abrogate previous verses. That's not true. The abrogation in the Quran only exists between the Quran and early verses of the Quran. You could not find one verse in the Quran says that Allah used that verse to abrogate passages in the Old Testament or passages in the New Testament.
But you know that the Quran can abrogate hadiths, and hadiths can actually abrogate the Quran.
Sure, but in the Quran, you see in the English translation, not mine, but other English translation, and they'll tell you abrogate previous books, no previous verses in the Quran. That is garbage lie in the translation of the Quran, but that's not what the Arabic said or the interpretation of the scholars of Islam. Anyway,
Olet,
listen, we talked more than an hour and a half.
We can call it night here. So Olet, your thoughts. So final round, I guess.
There are so many really gross, disgusting laws that they hide, and they like to brag that adoption is prevented to give a child full rights to their family name and inheritance and things like that. But they don't tell you they can adopt a baby girl and then marry her later. They can raise her up to be exactly. It was spoken of in Epic, in the masjid I went to for a long time.
Oh my God.
They were like, it's good to raise a girl up in the house. You marry them early, so you raise them to be how they should be.
That is filthy. Oh my God.
And and what we had talked about with me, how my life happened and everything, they were like, if you were married to the guy that did those things to you, that's fine. Like, I was like, what about the hadith where Muhammad said, be good to your women, be gentle, be, all these things. And they're like, well, that is. You're contained in a house, you're safe, you're not working, you don't have to think. That's perfect. That's what they see you as.
That is satanic. That is demonic.
That's where I realized there's true evil. All this other stuff about Christianity being so oppressive to women and being so horrible. It's like, no, it's not. It's nothing.
Disgusting.
By the way, Muhammad ended the adoption not because to give the people back to their father's name. He ended because he want to continue to be involved with his daughter-in-law, and people are shaming him. So there's no adoption period.
I want to shag my son's wife.
Yeah.
What freaking prophet of God wants to shag his son's wife? And
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
Disgusting. Disgusting. And I mean, these Muslims they have no shame. They have no shame. Any sane human being would be repulsed by this. Would be. I didn't even have the words to describe it. This is horrific.
Yeah, Lloyd, they're living in obedience to Allah. If you go to Quran chapter 33, verse 50, Allah said that there will not be shame on you. See, I give you the privilege to be a womanizer. Sleep with every female, the living and the dead. That there will not be shame on you, because Muslims believe in the Quran and practice Islam according to the word of Allah. There is no shame. Allah said there will not be shame on you. You see that? It is in the word of Allah, man. Muhammad is a womanizer without shame.
I mean, it says in the Seerah that Muhammad, it literally says the Prophet was a womanizer.
Well, if you sleep with every female in town, the living and the dead, I don't know
what. I've shown it before. It's in the Seerah. It says the Prophet was a womanizer. He's actually accused of it, being a womanizer.
Have you ever read 3355? I'm sorry, 3350.
No, we can talk about that next week. We can hold that over for next week. I mean, this is disgusting.
All right.
Trump needs to accidentally send a nuke and drop it on Mecca. That's my thinking. Good grief. Honestly, this is the most evil. This is evil masquerading in front of us as virtue. And we've allowed this in. And once they establish themselves, more and more of these laws are going to come into place. First, they're going to get rid of your dogs. Then they're going to shag your 4-year-old.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but this is what is legal.
It's Islam.
In fact, there is no lower age limit. There's literally no lower age limit in Islam for sex.
65 verse 4, I believe.
And
no age limits.
Islam is the gift that keeps on giving. You think that you have just learned everything about it, and then you keep reading and you keep reading, and it just keeps getting worse with every single verse.
So
And believe it or
guys,
not, I'm learning new errors in the Quran every day. No kidding, every day. Just last week, I was studying the tree of Zakum. That is the tree which is actually made out of fire and grow up by fire for the people to eat from it. It's a comedy. We need, hey Lloyd, do me a favor, write down, because I'm not going to remember. We need to have a program on the heavens of Islam and the hells of Islam. The heavens of Islam, and these are two shows. We must do them. We must do them. I did enough study, and my brain is I cannot hold my thoughts anymore.
no,
Anyway,
I just feel dirty and I need to go shower. That's how I feel right now.
this is my problem. You talk to Allah, man. Talk to Muhammad. Why are you
Hey, look,
complaining?
man, I'm African. I shower once a week, but right now I feel like I gotta go.
An Arab shower once a month, needed or not.
You know, that's look, man. That's
Anyway,
too much
let me tell you
information,
about
right?
this. Let me tell you about this. Seriously, that's my last word for today. So
What?
I found that it is the word shajara supposed to be written in Arabic language with تاء مربوطة. Actually, Muhammad wrote in the Quran with تاء مفتوحة. So that is grammatic error. But then he talked about shajara in a singular. In one verse, he made a mistake and he make it shajar, which means plural. And I read the Quran all my life, but I never see these errors. Every time I'm looking at the verse in the Quran, error jump on me. Error jump on me. It's like,
No,
man, that
so
book is reading the gift which keep giving. Okay, I'm done.
yeah, no. So look, guys, for the audience, hopefully you've learned something. I do understand on the channel, I do a lot of contentious issues. I discuss a lot of very difficult issues. I know YouTube punishes me.
Disgusting issues.
No,
Don't
YouTube
forget,
literally
disgusting
deletes my
issues.
subscribers. YouTube deletes my view count. I know for a fact my view count's a lot higher than what. I mean, you can see my view count. JC told me today he was seeing my view count go down on my videos. He was watching my videos and I was losing views. Like he refreshed and I'd lost 100 views. I lose
That's
subscribers, right? Things of this type. So understanding YouTube punishes me. My channel is much bigger than it was. My income on YouTube is a third of what it was a year ago. Okay, understand, I don't do this because it's not like I'm making $1 million on YouTube, right? This does not pay the bills. Please understand this, but I do it because it's necessary. This is why the support is really appreciated, right? But it's not like I'm, I didn't have a car for 7 years. This year I bought a car after 7 years without a car. So don't think that I'm making a bunch of money on YouTube, okay? So but we have to talk about these things. These are ugly things, but we must talk about them. If you value your family, if you value what is moral, what is right, if you value your culture, your civilization, and the truth, then we need to embrace and face these things.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, JC?
Yeah, I shouldn't have actually brought this up, but because of something that Usama said about his translation. So this is something that a couple of people have brought up to me, which I had missed entirely. But this is how Murad translates Surah 20. I think it's, wait a second, let me check. 22:17. So I was wondering if Usama could say if this is what the Arabic says or not. I've checked the translations. They all say something very, very different.
We can check the Murad translation next week. So hold that for next week. Put a pin in that. Let's tackle it and we'll come back. Olet, would you like to join us again next time?
Yeah, that'd be good, especially if you're reading that translation. I have somebody actually gifted me one of my first live streams, the premium copy of it. So I have it stored away. And yeah,
I know a guy that speaks Arabic. He's very loud. He's a bit, he's some dude from Egypt, but yeah, he's on a scale from 1 to 10, he's okay.
Yeah, that's the way.
Yeah. So guys, thank you. I guess that'll be great. So let's do this again. I should be on tomorrow night with Odon. Hopefully, we'll be talking about the Gnostic influences in Islam. We've done the pagan ones yesterday. Today we're doing the Jewish influences, and tomorrow I'm doing the Gnostic influences in Islam. So this is what I'm doing right now. We're going to go through all these sources in depth. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Lloyd. Appreciate you allow me to be part of your ministry. It says I'm learning. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's horrific. I mean, please, everyone, Islam needs to be destroyed. We need to destroy this. We need to
like us and share this. Guys, share. I mean, it is too much work for us to come and sit and talk. It's very easy for you to just copy the link, send it to your friends, send it to your buddies. It's easy. It's an easy step. And if each one of us does it, and those who receive it does it, that message will hit millions. That's what we're not looking for hundreds of thousands. We're looking for millions. Hundreds of thousands will never work. We need big number, too big to rig. Amen.
Yep. So let's say controversial things like it's okay to be white, since that's what I do on this channel. So guys, thank you all very much. God bless. And please stand up for what is right and what is moral, right? Stand against Islam. It is evil. I think it's evil, and there's no excuse for evil succeeds when good people do nothing. And I'm asking you to be those good people. Amen. Thanks, everyone. Good night. God bless.
Good night.